welcome into another edition of Melton Talks Movies, joined this week by AJ from Leland Live of Talk 99.5. AJ, thank you for appearing on the show. This is your first appearance on Melton Talks Movies.
My first appearance, I'm excited.
Yes, it is very exciting, and we have one heck of a movie experience to talk about on this edition, and that is that of the Belko Experiment, a horror film from the mind of James Gunn. And AJ, I don't know how forward you were looking to this movie, but it definitely delivers on what it promises from the trailers. I think we'd agree with that. You aren't totally shocked with what you see going in.
I mean, basically, when you saw the trailer, you kind of, you knew the movie.
Yeah.
But there were some twists in there I thought was pretty good in the movie as well. And I was actually pretty excited to go see this movie.
AJ's a resident horror fan along
Yes.
with me at Talk 995. Those are hard to come by sometimes, but once again, this was a movie we were looking forward to for all it promised. Really the premise, the unique premise of being trapped in your office building with all your coworkers, and then you get some eerie voice over the intercom of, you got to start killing people if you want to live, and it starts raising up some major questions about how society would view this type of situation and who would be most willing to kill and who would be the ones trying to preach peace. And it doesn't take long for the blood to start to splatter on the screen, and even though I was totally expecting that, AJ, I was still taken back with the level of violence we saw in this movie. I mean, even though, once again, you're fully prepared going in that this is going to turn into a violent movie, it still hits you in a lot of different places with the amount of violence and the way it's executed on screen.
Well,
no pun intended.
And one thing I also liked about this film is that it went straight to the action. A lot of times you get a lot of these thriller/horror movies. There's that moment of dullness where it's like, oh my God, will they please just take someone out?
Yeah.
But when you actually get a chance to sit down and watch this film, yes, there was that build-up in the beginning, and then right as you think something was not going to happen, you think it just hits you, and it's like non-stop action. You don't know what's going to happen. You think people who are going to survive in the film, you realize some of them don't make it. And then there's that twist about what actually is going on, because when you think it's done, it's not done, and then you think it's done, and it's done. It's like it just keeps on going. Yeah. So if you want a high impact, intense film, this is something you might actually enjoy.
I will say this though, and I think you'd agree with me, that if you're not a horror fan, and if you do not like violence in cinema, stay as far away from this movie as possible. You have to go in kind of knowing what you're buying into. You don't want to just casually catch this movie on a rainy Sunday thinking, oh, well, this is a new film, I'd like to check it out. No, you need to be a horror fan who's basically ready to buckle your seatbelt and get ready for what this wild ride really entails. And it really benefited that it was only about 90
an hour and
minutes.
a half. Yeah, it's like an hour and a half. Now, I will have to say this, and I didn't really look at it as a horror film. I looked at it more or less like a thriller. Something that was very intense. There wasn't like that one person or thing that was, killing someone. But it was more of a suspense thriller, because it made you think about, what if you were in that situation?
Right.
What if that was, my job, and all of a sudden I'm at work, and I'm doing work, and I heard this voice of God telling me I got to take someone out.
It really does raise some questions about your workplace, and it really does put you in the situation of these people and what they're facing. And I think that's when the movie's at its best, when it puts you in situations where you ask yourself, how would I react, and which one of these characters most represents the way I view this situation? But with that being said, it kind of wraps up in a way that I don't know if I was a big fan of. You have to really, suspend belief when it comes to the way this movie ends and it comes to its conclusion. But they're obviously looking to build a bigger sort of scenario moving forward and maybe create a franchise off of this, similar to something like The Purge. But movies like The Purge and Saw and all these movies that are very extremely violent, which once again, if you don't like violence, stay away from this movie. You can't say that enough. It really puts you in the situation of, how would I act under these circumstances? I think it does that well, and for that, in terms of a grade, I'm going to give it a B- when it comes to what it tells you it's going to deliver and what you actually get. there's no false advertising
No.
here. It is gruesome, it's bloody, it's violent. It gives you the kind of experiment feel that you would hope from this type of setup. I'm going to go B- as my grade for the Belko experiment. AJ, what letter grade would you give the film overall?
Well, I'll just give it a solid B.
Okay.
You know, it was straight to the point. It held no punches at all. If you're kind of like me, I'm not really all into that whole blood and gory and stuff. I mean,
And you gave it a B still? Wow.
I still gave it a B.
Wow.
Yeah, I still gave it a B. Because I still like the intensity behind it. I love how it went straight to the action. It wasn't that dull moment. You knew what was going on, and I love how it really made you think about the certain people. What would they do? How would they think? How would you react? And kind of put you in that same scenario. If you was in that situation,
Yeah.
what would you do? So I like that the way the director kind of pulled that out in that film. And because most films like that, I mean, it's not believable. But this is something that was believable. I wish, you know, the graphics were a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was some graphics. You know, someone who studied film, who shot, you know, short films before, you know, graphics really play a key role when you help tell a story. And, you know, I understand the budget wasn't really there, and maybe they didn't have the budget for, you know, to get really great graphics, but you could tell it wasn't a high budget film. It was not what you would think, but most of your horror films are not really high budget anyway. But I still think that they did a great job in producing this film.
Yeah, and I think this is a film that's going to grow in popularity when it's released on home video. I know that's a dated term. When it's aired all over HBO, this is a movie that's going to grow in popularity. More people will check it out. And it may bring a sequel. It may not. We will have to wait and see. But until the next time, I appreciate you being part of this little experiment.
Well, appreciate
Which
it.
is Melton Talks Movies. We just got done seeing the Belko experiment. What did you like about the movie? Have you seen it? Do you have no interest at all? Comment below. And we will continue on with our trips to the movies. AJ, always a pleasure. Hope we get to see another film very soon.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.